Hey everyone, this is Rosemarie from the Unfinished Lesson, and this is another Quick Win series. In this particular series, we are looking at the balance between having a creative studio and having a personal life. In this series, we've covered several different topics. This is actually the last video in this particular series. We first looked at the ladder of priorities. Again, this is an incredibly simple yet effective exercise that is going to make massive positive changes in how you approach things. In video 2, we took a look at the power of no, being able to say no and being comfortable with that. When do we do this? In video 3, we took a look at studio dilemmas, because you know what, sometimes it feels like it's not clear what we should do. In video 4, we took a look at what are you willing to say no to so that you can say yes to other things. You'll notice I've said the word no a lot in terms of the video so far. And so we're actually getting to, because I have a feeling this is your question, what am I supposed to say yes to, Rosemarie? Yeah, keep talking about saying no. And you know what? You have a point, which is why we're going to talk about it in this video. Now, if you have not watched the previous 4 videos, pause, go down below to the description, make sure you watch those. There's little exercises at the end of the videos, and they're going to help you get the most out of this series. All right, so when is it a yes? Well, there's a few questions we need to ask ourselves. I talked a little bit about this in the previous video. No doesn't always mean no forever. No can mean no for right now, right? So maybe it's a possibility down the road. Some examples from my studio were that music lab. It took me years to figure out how I was going to do music lab as a traveling teacher. It's something that I thought about and I tried to problem solve for years before I finally found an approach that really worked, and even then I still had to tweak it. So it had been no at this time, right? Or no for right now for a couple years. And then it became a yes. It might be that you interview a student and for whatever reason, it's just not going to work out right now. You're going to say no to this student because maybe they're so young that you don't feel like you can effectively teach them. Or they have so many other things going on in their life that even if you just did the practice within lessons, you don't feel like they would get the full impact of the programming you do. And there's going to be teachers, I'm sure, who are watching this who would go, well, you just change your approach. Yeah, but remember, we all have different goals and approaches in our studios. So whatever it is, maybe for you, it's a no for right now, but for another teacher, it may be yes. And that's okay, right? We're all different. So here's a few questions that I would like you to ask yourself when it comes to saying yes. Is it the right time? So going back to the music lab, it wasn't the right time when I didn't have a clear idea of how I was going to do this in my traveling studio. And now that I'm in an online studio, I've been able to take a lot of those lessons and apply them into my online studio. Is it the right option? Okay, going back to that music lab. There was information out there about music labs and really, really great information. But none of it was from the perspective of a traveling teacher. Not a single one. So I had to figure out that part of it because I can't bring all of this with me if I'm a traveling teacher, right? Can you imagine trying to get in and out of the car and you've got a bookcase with you? You can't do it. I mean, even as it stood, I started off with 3 teaching bags. And I've mentioned before, there is no way to look professional getting out of a vehicle in the winter, wearing heels, in the snow, with your, you're desperately reaching into the vehicle to try and drag all these bags out. It just doesn't work. Right? So the approach that worked really well for in-person studios did not work for a traveling studio. So it wasn't the right option. That didn't mean that it couldn't be a yes. Okay? Does this idea or approach need tweaking? That's what I had to do with the music lab, right? In order for it to be a yes, for it to be the right time and the right option, I had to tweak all the incredible ideas that I saw online so that it worked for my situation. And sometimes that's going to be the case. You do research and you really want to include something, but the ideas that you're reading, they're just not quite right. That doesn't mean you can't tweak them. It doesn't mean you can't take ideas from here and from here and from here and from here and create a bespoke solution so that it becomes a yes. Okay? And the last question is it in alignment with my ladder of priorities? You notice I keep going back to that ladder of priorities. So, say Music Lab. You know what? Music Lab is fantastic. You can make your lessons longer. You can charge more because it's an additional part of the programming. It's a really great way of, from a pedagogical view, to have students engage with the material and learn it in multiple ways, which helps it get from their short-term to long-term memory in a much stronger way. So there's lots of benefits, right? It might be something that you're like, I want to say yes to this so badly. Is it the right time? Well, if your schedule is completely full and you only teach 30-minute lessons, if you are not willing to drop some students potentially or overhaul the way that you do your scheduling at this time, then it can't be a yes. Is it the right option? Well, it could be the right option. You might have read something from my blog or from other blogs, and Music Lab, you're like, yes, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to maybe use some digital escape rooms that are on different topics. I'm going to do whatever it is. But I know how I want to do this approach. Yes, I can say yes to this. Is it in alignment with my ladder of priorities? Well, if exploring new ways of learning is one of the things on your ladder of priorities, or trying new things, then it's a yes. So we can say yes to quite a few things. We need to be careful what we say yes to before we overcommit, right? But yeah, you can say yes if it's the right time, right? You have the energy and the time to be able to commit to doing it to your standards. It's the right option. Maybe that might have been after you did some tweaking. And it's in alignment with your ladder of priorities. Okay, so before you go on with the rest of your wonderful day, I want you to take a look, think about something that maybe you've been wanting to add to your studio, okay? It could be a programming, it could be a method book, or a particular approach. I want you to go through these questions. You're going to have to do a little research, but that's where good decisions come from, right? Is we do a little research and decide, is it the right time? Is it the right option? Do I need to tweak it for it to work for my studio? And is it in alignment with my ladder of priorities? Remember that the more we can have our studios, the way that our studios run and the approach that we use, the more that it lines up with our ladder of priorities, the more connection and the more fulfillment we're going to feel in our careers and in our businesses and in our teaching. Okay? Let me know below. What is something that you are going to say yes to in the comments below? Now, if you have an idea and you're like, you know what, put it in a spreadsheet. Go back to those every few months and just see, is it the right time now? Is it the right option now? Things change over time. So remember, just because you're saying no to something doesn't mean you can't say yes later. All right, I hope you have an incredible day. I hope that you enjoyed this quick win series, and I would love it if you could hit that subscribe button. Now, on one of the sides of me, I'm not sure which, it's going to have the logo in a circle. You can press that and subscribe to this channel, or below the video, there's like a subscribe button as well. Okay? All right, I look forward to reading your comments, and I hope, yeah, the rest of your day goes amazing. See you in the next video.